This episode is brought to you by our album and single release social media game plan. This 30-day plan gives you the roadmap to build an effective social media strategy around your music and all of the assets to complete the plan.
Welcome to the Wander Creative Podcast, your guide to digital marketing.
We'll be talking about everything from organic social media to paid advertising, as well as many other topics.
So join us as we journey through the ever-changing world of digital marketing.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Wander Creative Podcast. I am Matt Hadley, and I am joined with Dan and Monica.
Hello.
Hey.
Today we are talking about writing engaging copy. So Monica is our social media manager here at Wander Creative, and she is our go-to copywriter. I've always feel like anytime I need even an e-blast, anytime that I'm working on an e-blast or working on something for our clients, I always go and see if Monica's already written something for social media, and I typically steal it and use it for whatever I'm using it for.
Amazing.
So Monica, a lot of this is probably going to be kind of geared towards you. Dan, I know you do a lot of copywriting on your ads as well, and so this will hopefully be a great conversation. It's talking about what is copy. A lot of people might not even know what copy actually means, and what is good copywriting. So I guess let's just start there. What is copy?
Yeah, I guess that is a good place to start, because that is kind of one of those things that if you're not really immersed in this world, you might be like, wait, copy? But it's literally just all the writing that you do in digital marketing. Like it's like email copy, like emails that you send out to people, like social copy is like captions on posts and stuff like that. And then like blog posts, all the different website copy that you have. It's basically just anything that you write.
Yeah.
So that's copy.
Literally, if you pull up something and you see words, that is considered copy.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, then what actually makes good copywriting?
So, I feel like I was saying this earlier and you made me cut off before we started the podcast. You're like, wait, save it. But there's definitely a difference between just being good at writing and being good at copywriting. I would say copywriting is definitely more strategic. There's more kind of research that needs to go into it. There's different things to take into consideration, like SEO, which we can get into, and then like just kind of knowing your audience, like what your consumer wants and needs, and knowing how to kind of target that through your copywriting. So I would say like the difference between just writing and good copywriting is like the strategy behind it, and the research that you put in, and knowing those little things to consider to reach the people that you want to reach and actually grow.
Wait, so that's really good. And I have a very off-script question for you guys. So, I mean, for those who are listening, copy is, like you said, like any words that you write in marketing or, on social media, whatever. And then another term we use is creative, which creative is any visual. So it's like it's the visual version of copy, which is any images or even like videos and stuff like that, graphics. So a little fun question for you guys. Hieroglyphs from Egypt, were they creative or copy?
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that was a day and age where it was one and the same in a way,
yeah,
right?
because it was like a visual
art to communicate.
And I guess those do tell a story.
Matt's like no more
copy
off-script
would.
questions for Dan.
He's like, all right, you know what, Dan, get out of here.
Yeah.
Kicks you out of
Okay,
the room.
sorry.
I mean, you at least took our entertainment level up at least
Thank
20
you.
notches.
Like,
There we
look
go.
at
Yeah,
his
that
mic
was
now.
good.
We're like, get him out of here.
Yeah, Matt's like.
It just slowly fades out.
Anyways.
No, that is interesting, though.
Okay. Well.
Like, so anyway, back to what we
So what were we talking about before that? No.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she put a nice bow on kind of what copy is.
Yeah.
And a nice
Yeah.
definition on it.
Yeah. So basically, to recap, all I can think about now was a hieroglyph copy or
Can we look it up? Is
I
that
got it.
something
I'm
that's
on
it.
okay?
I'm on
Let
it.
Dan do that.
All right. While Dan looks
You
that
guys
up,
keep going.
let's keep talking about copy.
Yeah.
So you kind of talked a little bit about the, just the strategy of copywriting and the strategy of having copy versus just writing. But why is it so important in today's age to really dive in on that?
Right. Well, for starters, like so much of everything is online these days. And so I feel like knowing how to communicate and how to communicate well with your audience is like more important than ever, because especially in the last year, like so much has been like we've relied so heavily on digital that it's just become so pressing and like so important to know how to communicate well. So that's one thing, is just the fact that like people who are gonna look you up and read about you, if they haven't like heard about your brand or your business before, like you want to send a clear message to them about like who you are, what you do, what you're offering. And so it's important to be able to articulate that well and to articulate it in a way that will show up in search engines if you are trying to reach new people. So that's like what I was saying earlier, prioritizing SEO, which honestly SEO is something that like I am always kind of looking into a little bit more. I feel like that's something that I could learn better. But basically, SEO is, for those that don't know, search engine optimization. And so it's just kind of thinking through, like, there's specific, like, keywords and different things. Dan, I don't know if you know more about it than I do, but, like, basically things that will boost your ranking in search engines. So when people are looking up, like, Nashville marketing agency, like, if we were to have, like, certain blog posts or things on our website that kind of tie into that and, like, who we are, hopefully that would put us up a little bit higher in, like, search engine rankings. So that's definitely something to consider, and something that like if you're new to copywriting and you are trying to figure out how to copywrite better, is something that's great to consider and look more into. So did that answer the question?
Yeah, kind of. I think so for
I
sure.
don't even really remember what it was at this point.
But when you're taking that into consideration, are you thinking through that primarily when creating either a blog or some piece of blurb or something that's actually living on a website, or are you also thinking about that when you're writing social media captions?
So for me, I do think it's a little bit different with social media and stuff. Social media is where I would mostly prioritize like the way you're speaking, like making sure that you're like sticking to your brand voice and that you're talking to the right audience, which is your target audience, your brand, you know what that is. And like hashtag usage and things like that. Those are more things that I would consider for social specific. When it comes to like website copy and like things like that, that's when I would rely more on like SEO and things like that. But yeah, so I think with social media copywriting, I tend to try and focus more on the target audience and who we're speaking to and what exactly the brand is trying to say or trying to encourage their audience to do. And so I think a lot of that kind of comes with practice, with like writing and like trying to understand the brand a little bit better. So yeah, I would say there is a little bit of a difference there.
Awesome. What are some, maybe, first off, Dan, I saw you put down your phone. Did you find the answer?
Oh, I found the answer. Hieroglyphs are a pictorial language, so it seems as though it leaned more on the copy storytelling and less on the imagery, even though it used pictures. So I'm going to go ahead and take the swing and say it was copy.
All right.
Oh, I would still assume that it was a little bit of both.
I mean, I think so too. I mean, it incorporates both, but it seems like it was not about like they would sit there and look at the pictures, but more be like, I want to hear the story, you know?
What about Pictionary?
That I would say is creative, because you draw the written.
That's true.
Right?
I haven't played Pictionary in a really long time.
I don't even know if I remember what Pictionary is.
All
right, anyways, sorry about that.
I'm like, let me explain it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what are some ways or processes or exercises that someone can take to try to get better at writing copy, or what is that mental, I don't know, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to ask?
I see what you're saying, like just ways to kind of improve your
at least someone
process with, you know, whatever.
Ways to get kind of into the copywriting zone and like improve on it, work on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because like, you know, someone like me who's not naturally gifted at copywriting, how would someone like me get better and like improve?
This is an interesting question because I feel like we could both speak to it a little bit because not to say that I'm like the best copywriter there is, because I definitely don't think that I am.
You are.
Well, I think I've always kind of had like a natural, I've just always been better at writing than speaking, which is why podcasts kind of make me anxious. But like, I'm just better at articulating thoughts through writing than speaking. And so for me, that's been something that has come a little natural. But I would say, like, honestly, with so many things, the key to getting better is just practicing. So, like, I like to do a lot of, like, free writing, which is basically just, have you guys ever done that? Like a brain dump or something where you just literally write, like, don't have to worry about whatever. Like, this is more of, like, this will help with, like, your story process, not necessarily, like, grammar writing or anything like that, but you literally just write down a bunch of, like, whatever's in your brain, you just, like, write it all out, and it kind of helps you, like, compartmentalize.
So if you think of, like, any random word that comes out.
Literally anything. You could be like, I don't know what to write. I saw a dog yesterday. Like, things like that. I feel like that, honestly, has helped me a lot when it comes to a flow of writing, because a lot of copywriting is, like I said, being able to articulate things well. So it has to do with, like, how you build out a story in a way that, like, makes sense. So, like, grammatical stuff aside, like, I think just practicing writing and, like, just writing a lot has helped me a ton in getting better at it.
I think one thing, and Monica, I mean, not to put you in a weird position, I look up to your copywriting. I think what you write is really good, and oftentimes the stuff you send over to us, I'm like, that's really what, that's it. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So, I mean, something that I try to kind of incorporate when wanting to improve my copywriting is, like, it's like anything, you know, if you want to be a better writer, what do? You read, you know, and if you want to be a better director, what do? You watch and consume film. And so, I mean, I think something that I've been trying to work on is, like, you know, kind of specializing in the advertising side of copy. I try to take in, hey, like, what is effective about the copy in this advertisement that I'm seeing? And, like, or even seeing some of the social stuff you write and be like, okay, like, what draws me into this copy? Like, why do I like it? And then what can I take? Oh, she starts off with this really interesting hook question. Oh, okay, I can maybe take that into advertising, or maybe, you know, starting off with whatever, or appealing more to the emotional side in this post. And I really like the way she connects with the audience. She knows who her audience is. And so, I mean, I think for me, it really definitely is consuming good copy to be able to learn how to.
Right. Another thing I just thought of from more of a technical standpoint, but I think being very concise is very important for good copywriting, because I feel like to keep attention, it's good to kind of just be, like, straight to the point on things, like, in a way that's catchy and still, like, you know, interesting, but keeping it as concise as possible. I feel like a lot of times copy can get kind of confusing or muddled when you're trying to throw in a bunch of fluff words and, like, tons of adverbs and adjectives that just, like, aren't necessary, or, like, huge phrases that could be condensed down to, like, because instead of, like, due to the fact that, you know what I mean? Like, things like that.
It's amazing.
I
feel super convicted and called out.
Well, I literally feel like there's some times where I send Monica, I'm like, hey, we did this really cool thing, and this is what we need to say. And, like, I'd say it in, like, 100 words. And then Monica's like, okay, cool, here's the 10 words that actually matter. So I feel like that's actually, she's looking at you when she says that, but I think she's actually
like,
talking to me.
Amazing.
No, but that's something that I used to be. I'm so conscious of it now, because I remember in high school, like, my English teacher junior year, like, chewed me out so much in front of the entire class. So it's really trauma that made me good at writing.
That made you great.
I wrote this paper. I thought it was so good. I was so proud of myself, and I gave it to him, and he read it, and, like, a page in, he was like, girl, you wordy. I was like, cool.
So, okay,
like,
so what you're saying
awesome.
is
That's incredible.
Get someone near to you and ask them to shame you for your badness.
You heard it here
in
first,
copywriting.
everyone. No, seriously, but, like, that was a turning point for me.
Sure.
And ever since then, like, I'm just very aware of, like, okay, does that need to be there to, like, tell this story, or can I say it in a more concise way. And usually you can say it in a more concise way, and then it flows better. It makes more sense. It's so much easier to read, especially because, like, you got to think, like, not everybody, not to say, like, some people are dumb, but, like, not everybody's at the same level, like, with reading and, like, comprehension and stuff like that. So, honestly, just, like, keep it as simple as possible while still getting your message across and still telling a story. Like, you can still tell, like, a really compelling, creative story while keeping it short and sweet.
Well, and to your point, I mean, we joked about the trauma or the shame that you experienced to get to where you are. But I think to that point, I think a really valuable point to make is, like, find people who are really good to critique your stuff.
Yeah.
Find people like, that's been huge for me, even in advertising, like working alongside other advertisers or bringing, like, questions to them and saying, like, hey, this is how I do it. Is that congruent with what you're doing? Because I know you're really good. And them saying, yeah, that's exactly what I do. Or sometimes they'll say, actually, no, I go a different way. Like, that's not the most effective way. And being able to, like, humble yourself and learn that way is pivotal.
Even if it's just, like, showing somebody a piece of writing that's not necessarily, like, a writer and just being like, does this make sense to you?
Yeah.
Like, is this...
Yeah, as the average consumer.
Like, how are you interpreting this? Like, does it make sense? So... Yeah.
Well, and then regularly I send you stuff like, hey, how does this look? And then regularly you send back a completely different paragraph by the time you're done with it. Because you're like, hey, that's good. Let's maybe consider using completely different words.
Yeah, let's maybe go a completely different direction.
Yeah, let's structure sentences differently and use different words.
For our listeners and viewers out there, we do have to say that this is a very loving team. We do edify and support each other.
We do.
But we do like to razz on each other too, which I'm probably sure I'm going to...
I think there's more support than riffing on each other, you know?
Yeah.
I'm surprised y'all didn't riff on me for using the word razz, but okay.
I didn't really know what that meant.
It went through my mind. I almost did.
I'm a dad now.
I said I'll let the listeners do it. They're in the comments of, like, the Apple podcast, like, razz?
What are we in 1950s?
Video, like, get out of here.
Man, I'm gonna razz ya. Anyways, I think it's time for a quick tip. What do you think?
I think so too. This has been a great conversation on copy, though.
Thanks, guys. Cool. Awesome. Well, we're going to lead into the digital marketing quick tip. You guys make sure to tune in next week for the next episode. We have something special for you. So, for this week's digital marketing quick tip, take time to research good keywords to include in your copy, such as blog posts, website copy, and social media, that are optimized for search engines. Considering search engine optimization in your copy is a simple way to boost your ranking in search results, so you'll be more likely to reach your target audience.
Thanks for listening to the Wander Creative Podcast. We hope that today's episode inspired and equipped you to take on the ever-changing digital marketing landscape. If you missed anything from today's episode, don't worry. We took all of the notes for you. Access this episode's show notes at wandercreative.com/podcast. And could you also do us a favor? Let us know that you loved this episode by following the Wander Creative Podcast and leaving a positive review on whatever platform you consume podcasts. We'll catch you next time on the Wander Creative Podcast, and until then, we hope that you make the most out of all that the digital world has to offer you.